Yeah, we have the Welsh Parliament elections coming up, not till 2026, but no, really interesting. In Wales, Reform now is the opposition to Labour. This one poll even puts us ahead of Labour. And remember that the valleys of South Wales, that's the home of the Labour Party. That's kind of where the whole thing started. So, yeah, we're seeing very big change.
Nigel Farage is back, and this time he's making headlines with a bombshell announcement. Reform UK has declared its intention to challenge the Labour Party in Wales. Could this be the glimmer of hope for the British public, exhausted by the harsh policies of the dictator Starmer? Perhaps it's time for this country to see a change in leadership. Stay tuned for the gripping developments ahead, and don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel to keep up with the latest updates on British politics. Trump's victory in the United States was not merely a political event. It sent shockwaves that made many stop and ponder. Is it possible to change the status quo through an entirely different approach? This is undoubtedly a dramatic and thought-provoking moment. In recent weeks, numerous signs have emerged hinting at an impending shift. However, caution is necessary to avoid turning one outcome into an exaggerated phenomenon. No victory lasts forever, and no revolution can endure indefinitely. The world is always in motion, constantly changing, and this very uncertainty creates an electrifying atmosphere. It's as though doors that have long been locked are suddenly flung open, offering everyone a chance to speak out and act in ways that defy outdated conventions. What's even more intriguing is how the current system reacts to these changes. In the face of Trump, the old machinery struggles to adapt, yet it seems to be playing a completely different game from its opponent. This isn't just a battle against an individual or a movement, it's a clash between traditional mindsets and the strong winds of reform sweeping through. The old system, with its once reliable pillars, stubbornly clings to outdated tactics, refusing to update its thinking or adapt its methods to the times. They seem oblivious to the fact that the once silent majority has now awakened and is speaking out louder than ever. This awakening isn't just about action, it's about a shift in awareness. Those who were once hesitant, shy about voicing their opinions are now less afraid to stand up and express their true thoughts. They are beginning to realise that the path Western nations are on is not one of prosperity, but one leading to stagnation and decline. Meanwhile, the East is rising as an increasingly formidable force, creating a dramatic contrast to the decay faced by the West. This is a reality that cannot be ignored, a powerful wake-up call to those still clinging to the old order, desperately resisting the tide of change. Recent reports have highlighted an alarming reality. In Australia, signs of underlying mental health issues can start manifesting in children as young as 8. This is a shocking statistic, as it's hard to fathom that such young and vulnerable children are already at risk of serious mental health struggles. And it doesn't stop there. The problem isn't confined to Australia. It's highly likely that the UK faces a similar situation, although precise data has yet to emerge. This raises a disturbing question. How can Western societies, often seen as symbols of wealth, stability and progress, be driving the younger generation into such profound mental distress? And let's be clear, this isn't the fault of the children. So where does the root of the problem lie? One major factor is undoubtedly the prolonged lockdowns in recent years. These measures not only disrupted daily life, but also had a devastating impact on the mental health of children and adolescents. Instead of growing up in environments enriched with social interaction, many children were isolated, cut off from normal activities, and left to cope with a void in their psychological development. Take, for instance, the state of Victoria in Australia, where strict measures proved not only ineffective, but also left behind a shameful legacy. Adding to the crisis is the overdiagnosis and overtreatment of mental health issues, which have only exacerbated the situation. In today's society, natural emotions like sadness, disappointment or grief, integral parts of the human experience, are often pathologized. Rather than being encouraged to confront and overcome life's challenges, many children are put on medication at an early age, from drugs to improve focus to those aimed at suppressing emotional reactions. This is a grave error in approach, exposing systemic flaws that need urgent re-evaluation. Perhaps it's time to return to the old ways of thinking, that resilience is built through facing life's hardships head-on. Strength and mental fortitude are the true markers of maturity. Lessons from older generations who lived through wars, economic recessions and countless upheavals remind us of the irreplaceable value of grit and endurance, even if such lessons may seem outdated in today's world. Beyond mental health issues, today's children are also burdened with a myriad of other pressures. Fears about climate change, cultural divides, and a host of societal problems add layers of anxiety to an already bleak picture. Instead of addressing these concerns, society seems to be placing even more weight on the shoulders of the younger generation. It's a sad state of affairs that cannot be ignored. Switching to another pressing matter, a noteworthy situation is unfolding among farmers in the UK. Many, including high-profile figures like Jeremy Clarkson, have taken to the streets in protest. At the heart of their discontent lies a combination of heavy tax policies and mounting economic pressures that are crippling the agricultural sector. While the UK boasts vast estates, the reality is that most farms are modest, family-run operations that have been passed down through generations, some for hundreds of years. These families' dedication and care have not only sustained their livelihoods, but also created the stunning English countryside that draws admiration from around the world. However, despite the skyrocketing value of farmland on paper, the actual income of these farmers remains dismally low. They struggle to make ends meet, even while owning what outsiders perceive as immense assets. This bitter irony exposes the deep flaws in current policies and governance. Without decisive and comprehensive reform, the UK's agricultural sector will continue its downward spiral, bringing with it severe consequences for the entire society.
Are at, between now and say the next couple of years, a real pivotal point in Western politics, and you're seeing it in France, you're seeing it in Germany, you've seen it already in Italy. There's a big change coming, huge.
And do you know this? The UK Treasury is projected to collect around £300 million from inheritance tax this year, a figure that far surpasses initial forecasts. This has sparked deep concerns about Labour's policy, which has been criticised for its unfairness, especially targeting farmers and retirees. Revenue from inheritance tax is rising at an unprecedented rate, even before Chancellor Rachel Reeves's reforms have officially come into effect. Experts suggest that the reckless expansion of taxation has turned inheritance tax into a money-printing machine, particularly targeting families with farms, pension funds and small businesses. Government data reveals that within just 6 months, from April to October this year, families have already paid a staggering £5 billion in inheritance tax. In the most recent fiscal year, this figure hit a record-breaking £7.5 billion. Initial projections from the Office for Budget Responsibility, OBR, estimated that inheritance tax revenue this year would reach £7.5 billion, but the latest figures have now risen to £8.3 billion. At this current pace, actual revenue could reach £8.6 billion by the end of the fiscal year. Victoria Atkins, the Shadow Environment Secretary, has fiercely criticised this policy, calling it a heavy blow to family farms. She stated, "The OBR has acknowledged uncertainties in the figures Labour uses to justify this draconian taxation policy. Farms with high asset values but limited cash flow are being pushed to their limits. Many farmers face inheritance tax bills running into hundreds of thousands of pounds, while their annual income is just around £20,000. This policy is not only irrational, but also risks driving up food prices, causing job losses, and even threatening the survival of the agricultural sector."